believed in that so deeply, they couldn't see a different vision. Along comes a software program developed initially to break codes. A lot of people don't know that. Steve Jobs wrote iTunes as an intelligent software for code breaking. They then adapted it, and lo and behold, the global connected world unseated the entertainment industry, arguably one of the most well-funded and creative. Let me give you one last example. Think in your mind about the global world of medicine and pharmaceuticals, and how long it takes to develop capabilities despite the funding, despite the talent. I could introduce to you 4 young men, two from Arizona State University, who became the first people in the world to sequence an entire human genome without splicing it up, and for under $5,000 in under 10 days. They did it in their garage. I kid you not. So here are 4 people in a house in California who have achieved what the world of medicine had not. Why? Because once business management people group together in an organization, they see the world changing very little out of protection. That creates the opportunity for new business management people to see opportunity. And you get that, what's called hockey stick growth curve. So first is to remain open-minded. Remain open and always challenge appropriately, respectfully, the assumptions. The auto insurance industry in the United States is $400 billion US a year in cash flow. What is the question they never asked themselves? What if cars quit being cars the way they've always known them? What if fewer people own them? What if they don't run into things? What if you could make a car not crash despite human error? And their response in 2007, when this question was raised, was, predictably, that will never happen here. Less than 2 years later, I'm driving up and down the California freeways from the back seat of a car with no one behind the wheel. And perfectly safe. We can improve the human condition with technologies that are now available cost-effectively, that have never previously been available, and augment, support our capabilities. Now, in the process, you have a $400 billion industry asking itself, how can we change fast enough? And the answer, quite simply, is they can't. Because their business management processes don't allow them to see the world differently. The phone calls that I get from India, from Korea, from Europe, are because an insurance company, not bound by U.S. assumptions, see this as a new market for growth. Instead of seeing the United States as a mature market with very little growth, they see a new market in cars that don't crash as their growth opportunity to be the new giants. Those ideas, the most important question a business management leader can continually ask is, what if? Because in asking the question, there is only a positive learning experience. what if may lead to that can't be done right now. Fine, that's an important learning for efficiency, for economics. What if may lead to the creation of a new industry. I have a good friend, a mentor, who asked a very important question roughly 10 years ago. What if someone other than government were responsible or involved or a leader, provided leadership to space travel? No one wanted to hear that message, and so he launched a global competition. $10 million for the first team to take off from a runway, go into orbit, land, take off again within 4 days, go back to orbit, and successfully land. And it only took 2 years for a team of 7 people to successfully build a craft that did just that. As Dr. Peter Diamandis, who founded the X Prize Foundation. He coined a phrase I wish to impart and share with you that is 10 to the 9th. And what he means is 10 to the 9th opportunity. Technology, business management, coming together with consumers to create capabilities, products, services that have a positive impact on 1 billion lives within 10 years. It is my position that should be the goal, the aspiration, and the dream of all business management people. Because for the first time in human history, it's achievable. A $65,000 radar sensor that enabled a car to see and drive itself, 3 years ago, $65,000. 18 months from now, $300. The ability to connect, the ability to use technology cost falling exponentially with exponentially greater capability has created this era of abundance, this age of acquisition. Please remember, paradigm shifts require business management people to consider 3 parties, 3 constituencies. First, the technology community. Second, consumers and their needs. And third, the business management principles. Business, technology, consumers. When you put those 3 together successfully, which is profoundly difficult, then you have the conditions for global leadership. Those 3 constituencies exist: consumer need, technological expertise, governance, at a profound scale in India that is not found anywhere else. Why is that so difficult? Why is that such a challenge? Because technology has its own language, its own rhythm. Consumers often don't know what they need or want. And business speaks the language of economics. Technology, the language of technology and the language of economics can be as foreign to each other as anywhere on earth. And it is incumbent upon business management people to be the translators, to reconcile these 3 languages for profound growth. I promise you, if the human imagination, let me back up. Dr. John Gage founded Sun Micro. He was a pioneer in Silicon Valley, and he had one of my favorite quotes of all time. He said, "In today's era of abundance, there are only 2 constraints on business: the human imagination and light speed. And I am sure we will overcome one of those 2. And if you think about that, that's very prophetic. 6 months after he said that quote, a team in France announced that they believed they had beaten light speed in a particle accelerator. Can we break the barrier of human imagination? Maybe, maybe not. But that is a question and a challenge and an opportunity and inspiration that each of us, one at a time, must ask ourselves. Business very often looks for a single large revenue stream. That is not the world we live in anymore. The world we live in, realize that the opportunities come in the small spaces, and it takes many, many spaces to effectively grow the business. That is where account management comes in. So let me somewhat close, if you will, with just these concepts. Let me recount them. First of all, you have to believe that you live in one of the most important global. You are not encumbered by the United States, countries like the European Union, where there are frivolous laws, very old school in their thinking. And that is why 3 constituencies: consumer need, and that is the rule of law that is so important to India. Let me speak about one other practice I hope to challenge you with in my comments. In the past, research and development budgets, research and development practices have relied on large sums of money. I would submit to you, counterintuitively, the most successful R&D, the most successful innovation in creating paradigm shifts comes from leveraging constraints, small budgets, entrepreneurial mindsets. One of the first warnings that I give businesses when I go consult is, do you incent, do you motivate and inspire your R&D department differently than the rest of the organization, than the rest of everyone else? And the answer consistently is, well, no, that's inefficient. I would submit to you that an entrepreneur, an undergraduate, someone fresh from graduate school, thinks about the world differently because they're from the very first generation to be born connected and digital. Those of us who have transitioned into the digital age cannot fully understand, and we must be humble about this, what it means to be born into the wired, connected world, where children are doing international trade before they're 10, where high school students can take courses from any major university for free, where friendships and relationships like that I have formed, Dr. Ickle, happen almost spontaneously and overnight. Be humble about that understanding and leverage constraints. Small teams incented differently, not necessarily with cash, can achieve profound breakthroughs at fast speeds. It's a challenge for business management to continue to motivate and find incentives for those teams. But if you don't establish that team, if we don't establish those teams and motivate them and inspire them, they will find motivation somewhere else, and it may be our own businesses that are being targeted for disruptive shift. Remain open and embrace paradigm shift. Do not be threatened by it. For within those tremendous disruptions lie the opportunities to achieve tremendous economic success and extraordinary, extraordinary societal benefits. Humans are not predictable, and yet we will follow predictable patterns. Rather than be concerned or intimidated about that lack of predictability, that means you can tap into it, leverage it, and grow it for profound gains. I wish you the very best. I stand here again with great humility, sharing with you to a group who has such a profound opportunity for India, for yourselves, and for the rest of the planet. Our grand challenges can be fixed for the first time. Water, air quality, safe mobility, safe housing. The materials, the science, the only piece that's missing